Hello students, good morning. I hope you all will be safe and sound. As we are discussing in the history, as we have discussed many things in this one chapter, mainly whatever the movements that was initiated, and after this one the advent of the Mahatma Gandhi when he came to our country, and we saw the initiatives and we saw the support was given by him to the different persons like peasants and mill workers as well. After this one they have given here about the Rowlatt Satyagraha. What is it? You will come to know in this one. In 1919, Gandhi gave a call for Satyagraha against the Rowlatt Act that the British had just passed. Means the Britishers, they have passed, the colonial government has passed one act, came to be known as Rowlatt Act in the year of 1919. And the Gandhiji just gave a call for Satyagraha. The Gandhiji just opposed this particular act. Why it is so? The act curbed fundamental rights such as the freedom of expression and strengthened police powers. Mean to say, in this one act, what was that? Whatever the freedom, whatever the fundamental right we were having at that time, it was seizing it. It was just seizing, that is why it was opposed. It means to say, without any trial, any Indian, any suspected Indian can be the jail by the British government. This was the main theme and main things which were in the Rowlatt Act. Then after, Mahatma Gandhi, Muhammad Ali Jinnah and others felt that government had no right to restrict people's basic freedoms. So these leaders, mainly the Gandhi, Muhammad Ali Jinnah and some other leaders, they just felt that the government is not having any right to restrict the people's basic freedom. Whatever we were having the basic freedoms over there, the government was not supposed to take all the freedoms. They criticized the act as devilish and tyrannical. They just criticized the Indian leaders mainly. The act is a devilish, like a devil, and the tyrannical. Tyrannical means unjust. Gandhi asked the Indian people to observe 6 April 1919 as a day of non-violent opposition to this act, as a day of humiliation and prayer and hartal strikes. So what happened after this one, when this act was criticized by the main leaders of our country? So the Gandhiji just asked to the Indian people, asked to the people to gather together and to just start one movement against this one non-violently for the opposition of this act on 6 April 1919, and as a day of humiliation and prayer. This day is just observed over there as a humiliation and prayer, and all the Indians who were gathered together, they went for a strike. Satyagraha Sabha were set up to launch the movement. Then the Satyagraha Sabha, one of the meeting that was held, it came to be known as Satyagraha Sabha, and it was just set up over there to launch the movement, to initiate, to start the movement. Then the Rowlatt Satyagraha turned out to the first all-India struggle against the British government, although it was largely restricted to the cities. Although this Satyagraha, Rowlatt Satyagraha, it turned to the first all-India struggle, meaning to say many of the Indians, they were struggling over there. Then they have given here the British government, although it was largely restricted to the cities. Meaning to say the British government has restricted to the people to enter into the cities. In April 1919, there were a number of demonstrations or hartals in the country, and the government used brutal measures to suppress them. So what happened throughout the country on April 1919, numbers of the demonstrations were just done by the Indians, as well as the strikes were conducted in all over the country, and the government, the British government, mainly used the brutal means very bad, very torture measures to suppress the rebellions. Then the Jallianwala Bagh atrocities inflicted by General Dyer in Amritsar on Baisakhi on 13th of April 1919. As we all know that the Jallianwala Bagh massacre means the people were gathering together, generally in non-violently, they were just doing the assembly over there, they were just meeting over there. So it was just surrounded by the British soldiers and General Dyer, who ordered to fire upon these innocent people. So it was a part of this repression. On learning about the massacre, Rabindranath Tagore expressed the pain and anger of the country by renouncing his knighthood. Although, what happened? Many of the people were killed, Indian peoples were killed in the Jallianwala Bagh massacre in this one. So what happened? Many of the Indians, they got furious. They became so angry over this one, and even the Rabindranath Tagore, he expressed the pain and anger of the country by returning the title of knighthood to the British government, because before it he got one title by the British government, that is knighthood, and he returned this one title to the British government. During the Rowlatt Satyagraha, the participants tried to ensure that Hindu and Muslims were united in the fight against British rule. So in this one, that has been told, whoever the members who joined this one Satyagraha, they tried to ensure the Hindu and the Muslims, they should unite together and they should fight against the British rule. This was also the call of Mahatma Gandhi, who always saw India as a land of all the people who lived in the country, Hindu, Muslim, and those of other religions. So it was the time when the Gandhi just see the India as a land of all people, meaning to say irrespective of their religions, like Hindu, Muslim and other religions, they can live together in the country. He was mean that Hindu and Muslim support each other in any just cause. And he also just argued that Hindu and Muslims, both the communities, both the religious people, they should help to and they should support to each other for any cause. Then Khilafat agitation and the non-cooperation movement. In this one you will come to know about the Khilafat movement as well as about the non-cooperation movement, which was initiated by Mahatma Gandhi. And what they have given under this one, see, the Khilafat issue was one such cause. In 1920, the British imposed a harsh treaty on the Turkish Sultan of Khalifa. The Khalifa, Turkish Sultan, whoever this one, so the harsh treaty, very bad, very typical, this treaty was imposed by the British government on the Khalifa, on the Turkish Sultan or Khalifa. People were furious about this, as they had been about the Jallianwala Bagh massacre. As the Indian people as well at the time, they were also quite furious, very anger they were showing against the British government. Also, Indian Muslims were keen that the Khalifa be allowed to retain control over Muslim sacred places in the erstwhile Ottoman Empire, because this empire would have been had been taken by the British government as well. So the Muslims also wanted again this power could be given to the Khalifa or the Turkish Sultan over the Ottoman Empire. The leaders of the Khilafat agitation, Muhammad Ali and Shaukat Ali, now wished to initiate a full-fledged non-cooperation movement. So what happened? It just united to Hindu and Muslims together, because the Hindus started non-cooperation movement and the Muslims, they initiated with the Khilafat movement. Both were having the same agenda to show their anger towards against the British government. So it was a time to unite together and to take a full-fledged non-cooperation movement. Gandhi supported their call and urged that Congress to campaign against Punjab wrongs, Jallianwala Bagh massacre, and the Khilafat wrong, that demand of Swaraj. Then what happened? That Gandhiji were there who supported their call and just told to the Congress to campaign against the Punjab wrongs. In the Punjab, that is Jallianwala Bagh massacre that happened over there, as well as the Khilafat wrong. Whatever the this movement was started and whatever the things that happened against the Turkish Sultan, mainly in the Ottoman Empire, and demand, and he tried to unite together the Hindu and Muslims and just demand to the British government for Swaraj. The non-cooperation movement gained that is momentum through 1921-22. Mainly this movement, non-cooperation movement, it mainly just started and it got a good support through 1921 and 22. Thousands of students left government-controlled schools and colleges. Whatever the schools and colleges were being run by the British government at that time, so these all were left by the Indian students. Many lawyers such as Motilal Nehru, C.R. Das, C. Rajgopalachari and Asaf Ali gave up their practices. So these lawyers also just left the job under the British government. British titles were surrendered and legislatures boycotted. Whatever the titles were given by the British government at the time to the Indian leaders, they just returned to the British government, and as well as whatever the assemblies, whatever the legislature assembly was conducted by the Britisher, it was also boycotted by the Indians. People lit public bonfires of foreign clothes, and whatever the foreign clothes were there, so they were burned in the public places. The import of the foreign cloth fell drastically between 1920 and 1922. So whatever the import of the foreign clothes were there, so it has been declined. Then, but all this was merely the tip of the iceberg. Large parts of the country were on the brink of the formidable revolt. So what happened? But all this was merely only the tip of the iceberg. Tip of the iceberg means it is only for a very short period of time. Large parts of the country, these were on the brink of the formidable revolt. So large part of the country, these were in the brink of the formidable revolt, mean to say whatever the revolt, whatever the movement was initiated at that time. So although the people from the other parts, they were supporting, but it was nothing over there. Then people's initiative. What the people did over there, which are of the things, so that has been given. In many cases, people resisted British rule non-violently. In many of the areas in our country, so the people, they just non-violently, they fought against the British rule. In others, different classes and groups, interpreting Gandhiji's call in their own manner, protested in ways that were not in accordance with his ideas. And in other parts also, although they were doing the work according to the Gandhi, but they were wishing to do the work according to their own wishes. In either case, people linked their movement to local grievances. Let us look at a few examples. Here they have given in some of the cases, in some of the localities, in some of the regions, this movement has been taken for their local grievances. Local means whatever the local problems were there. They related this movement related to their local problems. Let us look at a few examples. In Kheda, Gujarat, Patidar peasants organized non-violent campaigns against the high land revenue demand of the British. So here, locally they have just organized, locally they have just supported this campaign, this movement against the high land revenue demand of the British. Because a lots of the tax were taken by the British government from the same piece of land. In coastal Andhra and interior Tamil Nadu, liquor shops were picketed. Mainly in the coastal area of the Andhra Pradesh and the interior, the inner part of the Tamil Nadu, whatever the liquor shops were there, they were picketed. Picketed means to say that has been given people protesting outside a building or shop to prevent other from entering. In the Guntur district of the Andhra Pradesh, tribals and the poor peasant stages a number of the forest satyagraha, sometimes sending their cattle into forest without paying grazing fee. Because if they are just feeding their cattle, whatever the land under the Britishers, they had to pay some fee over there. So without paying this one, they were also showing their satyagraha, these tribal people in some parts of the Andhra Pradesh. They were protesting because the colonial state had restricted their use of forest resources in various ways. Whatever the tribals, they were having the forest resources, mainly the forest areas were the main resource for these tribal people. So it has been restricted by the British government to enter in these forests. So they were showing their anger and they were just supporting to the non-cooperation movement like this. They believed that Gandhiji would get their taxes reduced and have the forest regulation abolished. So these tribal people, they believed that Gandhi would get their taxes and taxes reduced. Means Gandhi, only the men who can reduce the taxes, who can mitigate the taxes, and as well as whatever the forest rules and regulations were there, they can be removed and they can be abolished. In many forest villages, peasants proclaimed Swaraj and believed that Gandhi Raj was about to be established. In many of the villages, the peasants, the farmers mainly, they declared themselves as they are Swaraj. They are they will do the rule over their areas, and they believe that Gandhi Raj was about to establish. Then, in Sindh, now in Pakistan, Muslim traders and peasants were very enthusiastic about the Khilafat call. They were very, we can say very encouragingly and they were supporting this Khilafat call over there. What about the Khilafat call by the Muslim leaders at the time? So they means wholeheartedly they supported it. In Bengal too, in Bengal also, the Khilafat non-cooperation alliance gave enormous communal unity and strength to the national movement. So in the Bengal, Hindu-Muslim both came together and just they saw the communal unity over there. The both Hindu and Muslims, they united together and they gave more powerful to the national movement. They supported over there. In Punjab, the Akali agitation, the Akali, this one party was there, of the Sikhs, sought to remove corrupt that is Mahants. Whoever the corrupt Mahants were there who were working under the Britishers, they supported, who were supported by the Britishers from their this one Gurudwaras. So these Sikh community people, they also supported the campaign which was initiated by the Gandhi. Then this movement got closely identified with the non-cooperation movement. Closely, this movement came to be known as non-cooperation movement. In Assam, tea garden laborers shouting Gandhi Maharaj ki Jai demanded a big increase in their wages. Whoever the tea plantation workers over there in the Assam, so they also just demanded to the government, mainly to the Gandhi, to increase their wages. Whatever the wages were very low for them, so they wanted to increase it. They left the British-owned plantation amidst declaration that they were following Gandhiji's wish. So whatever the work they were doing under the Britishers in their plantations, so they left it and they were following Gandhiji's wish. Interestingly, in the Assami, that is Vaishnava, songs of the period, the reference of the Krishna was substituted, substituted by Gandhi Raja. What about the songs? These were being played in the Assam mainly. So these songs were thus substituted in the Gandhi Raja. Means they have made some songs in the name of Gandhi. The People's Mahatma. Now, what they have given under this People's Mahatma, we can see from the above that sometimes people thought of Gandhiji as a kind of Messiah, as someone who could help them overcome their misery and poverty. So, he was, at the time, the Gandhi was worshipped like a god by the people, because he was one kind of the god over there, and who could help them to overcome their this one sorrow and as well as from their poverty. Gandhi wished to build class unity, not class conflict. Yet peasants could imagine that he would help them in their fight against zamindars, and agricultural laborers believed that he would provide them land. It means to say that Gandhi wanted to unite all the classes. All the classes mean to say the people, they were working in the different places. So here, like they have given the example, the peasants, the farmers, they were imagining that he would help them, the Gandhi will help them to fight against zamindars. And as well as the agricultural laborers believe that the Gandhi would provide them the land. At times, ordinary people credited Gandhiji with their own achievements. For instance, at the end of the powerful movement, peasants of Pratapgarh in the United Province, now in Uttar Pradesh, managed to stop illegal eviction of tenants, but they felt it was Gandhi who had owned this demand for them. So, what happened? Whatever the illegal eviction were being taken in the United Provinces at that time from the peasants, more taxes were being taken. So, it has been just stopped by the illegal evictions. Illegal persons who were over there who wanted to take more and more taxes from the peasants, it has been stopped. But the peasants, they thought that Gandhi would have won the demand for them. At another times, using Gandhiji's name, tribal and peasants undertook action that did not conform to Gandhian ideals. So, although the people got inspired by him, but the people wished to do the work according to their wishes. So that is why the tribals, without in the Gandhi's name, by taking the Gandhi name, these tribals and the peasants, they undertook their own actions that did not conform to Gandhian ideals. So after this one, they have given the happenings of 1922 and this one 1929. So what happened under this one they have given here? See, the happenings of the 1922 and 29. Mahatma Gandhi, as you know, was against violent movements. As you all know that he was the apostle of that one, truth and non-violence. So definitely he was against of the violent movements. he abruptly called off the non-cooperation movement when in February 1922 a crowd of peasants set fire on a police station in the Chori Chora. So what happened? So Gandhi has to stop this non-cooperation movement when what happened on February 1922, a crowd of peasants set a fire on a police station in Chora Chori, and 22 policemen were killed on that day. And the peasants were provoked because the police had fired on their peaceful demonstrations. So what the peasants, they told the region that the police has fired on their peaceful demonstration. That is why these peasants just set fire on a police station where 22 policemen were burnt. They were totally killed over there. Once the non-cooperation movement was over, Gandhiji followers stressed that the Congress must undertake constructive work in the rural areas. So Gandhi had to stop by this one scandal, this one scam in that is Chora Chori. So after this one he stopped this one, and Gandhi followers stressed that the Congress must undertake constructive work in the rural areas, mainly in the other parts of the country. Other leaders such as Chittaranjan Das, Motilal Nehru argued that the party should be fight election to the council and enter them in order to influence government policies. So these two leaders just suggested that party should fight for the election. We should also take the participate in the election in the council to enter over there in order to influence the British government policies. Through sincere social work in villages in the mid-1920s, the Gandhians were able to extend their support base. So what happened after this one? The social work in the villages that was initiated in the mid-1920s, and the Gandhians were able to extend their support base. This proved to be very useful in launching the civil disobedience movement in 1930. So what about the support, and what about the support of the Mahatma Gandhi that has extended? So it helped to the Mahatma Gandhi to launch the civil disobedience movement in 1930. Two important developments of the mid-1920 were the formation of the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, RSS. Still today this particular Sangh is working, that is known as RSS, and a Hindu organization this is, and the Communist Party of India. These were established in the 1920. These parties have held very different ideas about the kind of country India should be. So these two parties, the Communist Party as well as the Rashtriya Swayamsevak Sangh, that is RSS, both were having the different ideas about the kind of a country India should be, which sort of the country India must be. Find out about their idea with the help of your teacher. And the revolutionary nationalist Bhagat Singh also was active in this period. So as you all know that one of the revolutionary of our country, that is Bhagat Singh, everyone know about that person. He was also active during this period. So downside, if you see the pic, you can see the demonstration opposed the Simon Commission over there. And downside they have given about the Bhagat Singh. The decade closed with the Congress resolving to fight for Purna Swaraj, complete independence in 1929 under the presidency of Jawaharlal Nehru. So what happened? Jawaharlal Nehru, when in the Lahore session of the Congress in 1929, so the Congress just demanded for the Purna Swaraj, that is complete independence. Consequently, Independence Day was observed on 26th of January 1930 all over the country. So at that time, although we were under the Britishers, but the Indian leaders and the Indian people, they just celebrated Independence Day on 26th of January 1930 all over the country. Then, after this one, they have given the March of the Dandi, which we will discuss in the next video.